And then I came down to Islamorada in April 12th, 1959. And I've been down here ever since. I stayed in Islamorada 5 years, and I bought that building in June of '64.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how long you've been at this one here on the
where I am now in June of '64. But I never intended to have a whole group of people working. When I came down here, it was a sort of a semi-retirement.
More or less like a hobby.
Yes, that's right. Well, I had to work to eat.
Yeah, right. Well,
but I was
you made your hobby pay for it.
I wasn't going to eat very good, and I wasn't going to work too much either.
Yeah, right.
Did you design your backcountry skiff?
Yes, I designed it. I designed all the boats I ever built.
Where did you get the idea for the backcountry skiff, which was the boat down here for as long as I can remember?
All right. Do you know Reggie Roberts? Do you know Marlene Roberts? Marlene Wilson?
Yes.
You know.
Oh, sure.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sure.
Reggie Roberts lived just this side of the theater of the sea over on Oceanside. He and my father were approximately the same age. They were good friends. So I was down here about a year, I guess. And I worked there for Prudy Roberts. I ran the boatyard there for a little while, and then I went and I worked for Lonzo Cothran when he was putting up the Indies House, Quack Island Inn, I call it.
Right, I think everybody worked for Alonzo, yeah.
Quack Island Inn?
Yes.
Right.
Duck Keys.
Yeah.
Duck Key, you know.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, that's a good one.
I worked there, I get 3 or 4 months for him, and then I worked a couple of weeks for Don Wallard and various things. So Reggie Roberts came over to me, and I don't remember exactly. It was in early '60, before Donna, and he said he wanted me to build him a fishing boat. And I said, "What kind of boat you want, Reggie?" And he said, "Well, I want something to fish in the shallow water with, etc. You know." And so I had a mold a jig that I had built small boats on, little runabouts, and I showed him what pictures of it. He said, "Well, make it a little bit lower and this, that, and whatever." So we changed it. And I said, "Where am I going to build the doggone thing?" He said, "I'll go over and see Swin Nielsen over there, back of the water tank." And he said, "Maybe you can let you build it there." He's not using the whole building. So I went over there and made a deal with Swin to build the boat there. One boat. We went in there and we built a 16-foot boat. And I've got a picture of the boat, and it was him in it. And of course, he had lived in Key West earlier, but he had been down at Whale Harbor for years, you know.
Yes.
And he was a guide, and pretty nice old man too at that. And he had about 3 boys and a girl, I guess. Anyway, I built him the boat, and there's an old fella down there, P.O. McCrory. You know P.O.
Yes,
McCrory?
I sure did.
Oh, P.O., he's still living, I think.
I know it. Yeah, I
And
know
he
it.
must
I
be
just
90
wondered.
years old.
I know it. Just
And anyway, P.O. was sitting there.
he lived right by the library. Does he
Yeah,
still live in that little?
Yeah, but that was before he
Which-
bought that. He had a trailer over by where Swin Nielsen had
Yeah.
that tin building there.
I need to go see
There was
him.
no
Gosh.
Caribbean outboard there at all.
No, I know it. Well, there wasn't anything there really.
That's right, just that old
Look
tin
at it
building.
now. Yeah.
And so he was sitting there watching me in blabbermouth, and of course everybody in the neighborhood was coming around supervising the job. I
Yeah.
called them sidewalk superintendent.
Right. Yeah. They knew everything.
They knew everything, tell you how to do it and all
Yeah.
that. But anyway, when I got through, he said, "Now before you pick up your tools," he says, "and go home," he says, "how about building me one of them things for a trout boat?" So I said, "P.O., I only got a deal to build one boat here." He says, "Well, go talk to Swin." So by the meantime, Swin had gone to work for the power company. And you remember when he
That's
changed
right.
out?
That's right.
Well, then I said, talk to Swin. He said, "I don't have anything to do with it. Go talk to Albert Moeller." So I went to see Albert. He said, "Sure, you can have it." I think it was $50 a month. And that was a lot of money in those days.
I'm just going to say it
Yeah,
was.
but anyway, it was nothing but just a big 16 by 30-foot tin building. But anyway, I took it and I built P.O. one. And then Dixie Knowles came by.
Yeah.
He had seen Reggie's, and right away he wanted one. And so before I got P.O.'s finished, why, Dixie had one, and I can't remember the rotation from there on.
Yeah, from then on, I know, because
but
I knew you were very popular.
We were building the boats unpainted, and they were selling for like $500 or less.
Gracious.
$450, I think, was the first, and then they went to $550. And of course, everything now they're $8,500.
I'm just going to say it, absolutely.
But it basically the same size boat. We put live wells on the outside of them then instead of part of the boat.
Inside, yeah.
There's a lot of improvements in the boat since then. But that's how I got started.
Were they always glassed on the bottom and
The first boats I built were plywood. There was no glass on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eddie Whiteman came by and he wanted his fiberglass. I told him, hell, I ain't going to fiberglass your boat. So he went and got Don Wallard's brother-in-law come over there and fiberglassed it for him. And that's the way it went from then on. You know, every little improvement or change or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And,
But you let the other people do that. You built the boat itself and then let them add
but
anything they
eventually I
wanted.
got into fiberglassing. And
I'm just going to
all
say
kinds
you're doing
And
that
then-
now, aren't you?
Well, now I'm building an all fiberglass boat.
Yeah.
But up until 10 years ago, I think about 10, 11 years ago, I built all wood with fiberglass on them. And everybody liked the boat. And the best part of it was, if Bill Mann would go out and he'd come back and say, well, the boat needs to be a little bit flatter, or it needs a little more V, or it needs a little wider here, there. And every time we turned around, every guy had an idea, and some of them were good, so I used them. Some of them weren't good, and I didn't use them.
Yeah, well,
And anyway,
you knew.
It developed into one hell of a good boat.
Yeah. What are you doing now? I mean, do you have 2 or 3 going, or do you have contracts for different?
I don't take
people,
any
or-
contracts anymore.
You
I'm
don't?
really retired now.
Oh yeah,
I'm building a boat at a time. See.
I knew you were still building,
yeah.
but I didn't know whether it was just for family or for yourself.
Well,
or-
I built my granddaughter a boat, my daughter, 2 daughters a boat since in the past
That's wonderful.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
They furnished the money for the material, you know.
yeah.
And I have a grandson who's involved in boat building. He got laid off a while back. The company went bankrupt, so he came down and worked with me for about a year, and he left a whole bunch of unfinished work. It didn't bother me because
Yeah.
it didn't make any difference. And I'm trying to finish up that unfinished work. And I built a boat last year for a fellow at Naples, a 19-footer, with teak decks and all kind of fancy stuff.
Oh
you know.
dear, yeah.
And that's what I do. Just if a fellow's a friend of mine and he's congenial, I'll get along.
Right,
with
yeah.
him. I'll build him a boat.
Yeah.
what's the difference in your backcountry skiff now and the ones you used to build on weight? The ones out of wood?
They're wider. The fiberglass boat is about the same as the last wooden boat.
As
And
far as weight?
that would be the one that Bob Reineman is using today.
Mhm.
So his boat now is 10 years old, and I think that's the 3rd or the 4th boat he's bought from me since he got out of college. See, the wood boats weighed about 1,240 pounds without the engine, you know, as I sold them. And the fiberglass boats run around anywhere from 1025 to 1,100 pounds, which is about 200